Hello everybody, welcome back to Catch Up Court. I go by the name of Heinz, your friendly neighbor Catch Up man. Thank you so much for tuning in for another recap. And today we shall be recapping on the Christopher Wolfenbarger trial. He is facing trial for the murder of his wife or ex-wife, as the testimony is coming out. This murder goes all the way back to 1999, and they have picked up the case and is being brought now. So I appreciate every one of you for tuning in. I hope that you all have had a great weekend. We have a lot to catch up on. So the people that may not have followed from day one, I'm going to do my best to try and bring you up to speed, because a lot has been presented by this time around. So I'll try my best to bring you up to speed. So I'll just give a quick case overview that and go back to what has been happening since day one. So for this particular case, like I said, Melissa Wolfenbarger, her remains was found around 1999 in Avon Avenue, Fulton County, and it has taken up to 23 years to bring this case here. Bring this case here. There has been podcast efforts from the family to bring a light to the case, as they have said. Now the case is actually here. Now the case is actually here. Let's go back to day one, where the prosecution gave the jury a bit more overview of the case, and the defense also gave their theory of the case. The state was theorizing that Christopher had murdered and dismembered Melissa, his ex-wife, and also the reason for this is that they had found her remains near his previous workplace. So that's why they believe he did this. They also theorize that Christopher was abusive towards Melissa, and she had applied for a protective order while they were together. And they also theorized that this particular case is a case of domestic violence, and there was an there was an incident at Waffle House before all of this had basically erupted. I will say I did not hear from their opening statement how Chris may have done it. I did not hear from opening statement what Chris may have done to cover his tracks or whatever. That was basically the bulk of the opening statements and what we can expect to hear from the witnesses. The defense were basically theorized that Chris had moved away, that he thought that he had every right to believe that Melissa was not going to come back to him because she had moved away long time ago, and they also theorized that Chris is not even the concern, or that Chris should not even be the concern of the police, but it's actually the family, because it's a violent family. The father had committed murders, and the police should have looked at him. Not only him, the victims of the fathers as well. They theorize that some of the victims, they bring up the name of Eric Jackson, who was one of the victims' relatives, was also friends with the family. So the defense from the jump have been theorizing third party culprit. So hello, happily angry lawyer. Good to see you here. Says, hey, do you think a white or red is more appropriate? Yes, we got some wild testimony in regards to that Waffle House that's coming out. I would say white. Thanks for joining, happily angry lawyer. So, but yes, the defense was basically theorizing that Melissa came from an unkempt house, and they were not even able to take care of the children that that Christopher's parents had to step in and take care of their children. So a lot to unfold on day one. They brought in the witness that found Melissa's head. He went by the name of George McCarran, and he gave testimony on day one. On day two, they brought in a retired officer called Dale Kelly. This is where a lot of madness happened during the trial. He was basically saying that evidence was missing from his file, that there were some things that were not part of his file, and there was a whole Brady argument in regards to this. We went through it on day one. I'll leave the link to all of the previous catch-ups, all of the information in regards to this case, plus court documents made possible by Aptly Angry Lawyer, can be found in the description. I implore you to go check it out to learn more about this case unbiasedly, not what you see out on TV, but rather what is in the court documents and what has been tendered into court. Use that to learn about this case. Now, continuing on day one, when the third witness that was up was Tina Miller, and she was she's now a medical examiner, but she examined cold cases back in 1999, and she was basically testifying to gathering the remains for testing, etc. And she was the one to find. She was part of the team that found the head and the leg. The head was found on the 29th of April 1999, and the leg was found on July 13th, 1999. So those were the only remains that was found of Melissa. Tina Patton, who was the sister of the victim, gave testimony as well. Her testimony was crazy. Her memory was attacked a lot. She couldn't remember a lot of what she said. In fact, they tripped her up in regards to one of the domestic violence instances that she reported to the police contemporaneously, where she was saying that Melissa told her outrightly that Christopher was abusing her. However, this changed, because over time she said that she was actually afraid to tell her anything. So you can get the idea that maybe she has been speaking to a lot of these advocate groups, in which kind of maybe she picked up a thing or two, and her memory may have been affected, because a lot of what she was saying back in 1999, 2000, when this case was being investigated, is not as what she was presenting on the stand on day one. So we move on to day two. More madness even happened on this day. We had, not with Ronald Brock and Cynthia Brock, who were Christopher a former employee. Not with them. The madness didn't happen with them, but they did testify in regards to Chris having the privilege to borrowing a saw from their from their place of business, and Chris had borrowed the saw but never gave it back. That was a particular testimony. Then we heard from Dorothy Cooley, who was the person where the fireworks came from. Her criminal history was basically on full pelt. She was probably the first criminal that we got to hear of, and it didn't stop there. There was more coming in today, which we shall be discussing. But Dorothy Cooley, she gave testimony that she heard screaming and saw bruises on Melissa when she was living near them. However, on cross-examination, like we said, she had so many arrests, so many jail time that she had to serve, that it gives you the idea that it's not possible that she could have seen all of these incidents happen when she had all of these time to serve. So that was a very interesting testimony to hear and go through. But yeah, so that was Dorothy Cooley. Then we heard from Marlon Sutton, who was the sergeant, who was the respondent to the DV call. He's a sergeant, and honestly, this is where the state lost me a lot. I explained that on the day two recap. You can go back and watch. I'm not going to go into detail here, but its note taking was poor. It was a letdown to have somebody who could have been in genuine danger, and then when you do have someone respond, they didn't even do a very good job in collecting all the information, in making sure that there was a clear location, clear timeline, all of these things. He didn't even have the proper time recorded. He couldn't even read his own handwriting that was basically being recorded. So I thought it was such a letdown of a witness for the state, even though he was a neutral party. But yeah, so that was Marlon Sutton. Then we heard from Detective Stephen O'Hare. He was the arresting officer of Chris. He played his body cam, which basically was showing Chris hiding. Then we heard from Norma Patton, whose testimony ran onto today. But she just basically gave the background that they were growing up in, the how Melissa changed her mind when they were going for a court case for a temporary restraining order, and she basically changed her mind not to pursue it and dismissed the case. All of this, like I said on the previous stream, all of this is to basically build up to what we're going to hear from the expert testimony that's likely going to testify to the cycle of abuse that Melissa was likely suffering from. That's what I believe a lot of this testimony is building up to, and I really believe that this is the bulk of the prosecution case, that they're basically putting on a case saying that this guy could have done it because he was abusing her. So today we got to hear from Thomas Dickson, who was the supervisor at Waffle House, and Thomas was also having an affair with Melissa Wolfenbarger. So we're now getting a likely motive to have committed this murder because of jealousy, which does happen. It does. But the one thing about this is Melissa had moved away way after this incident, way after he had found out that, that she was seeing other people, but that she was basically cheating on him, because the Waffle House incident happened in February 1998. So it wasn't as if it happened in 1999. So when you're trying to, and to be quite fair, they're trying to put together a timeline to try and follow along all of this has been very difficult, because the prosecution is not even helping there. They're not even trying to show you the exact dates and time. So I'm doing my best trying to put together all of this, but trying to make it make sense, basically. But yeah, so Thomas Dickson, he testified today. We are going to go through his testimony. We are also going to go through Christina Garrett's testimony, who was the daughter of Melissa. Then we're going to go through Alton B. Calhoun testimony, who was the lead. I believe he was not the lead detective, but he was the homicide detective for the 1993 case when they were investigating it back then. So we're going to hear from him. Hello, Lexi Lorna. Thanks for joining. She said red. I chose white. But yeah, let's continue on with Norma Patton's continuation of her testimony, because she basically said that on September 9th was when she spoke with Melissa about, and this was when she was in custody in California, I believe. She also testified that Carl Patton had died in 2024 and he lived at College Park. She testified not visiting the area of Atlanta where the daughters were growing up. And in my opinion, she was giving this testimony to try and downplay the part that she could have had, with the whole river murders, etc. That, she didn't really have a direct influence over it. It was just it was just what we heard during the testimony, that all she did was basically back up. She didn't kill anyone, basically. That was the husband. This case is so wild. This case is so wild. It's beyond wild. It's super hard trying to put together a timeline, and state isn't clear. But no, the state are never clear. They are never clear. But she also testified that Melissa was released from custody on November 9th, 1998, like we mentioned earlier, and says that Melissa informed the judge that she was also pregnant. She also testified. She also testified that she only began doing the podcast interviews on 2021, and says that the reason of doing the podcast was to bring Melissa's case to the forefront. Again, this was done. They have to do it because the defense are going to pounce on this. They're going to say that she is doing all this trial for monetary reasons. She is testifying for self-serving reasons. Economic value is not really to get justice for adult. In fact, it is likely to skew all of her testimony because there's an incentive for her to testify a certain way to keep up the narrative that she had already put out there on the podcast. So you can imagine how the defense is going to play this in their favor. So when cross-examination came, I couldn't wait. In my opinion, I wanted to see what was going to come out during cross, and it did not disappoint. They highlighted from the podcast appearances, saying that the moments that they had learned they highlighted that Melissa and Christopher were basically moving from the place. Let's go and watch. Let me get to that time stamp. Let's go and watch.
Told your stories many, many times, haven't you?
Yes.
You've done police interviews, correct?
Yes.
And as you've just discussed, podcasts.
Yes.
You've spoken at true crime conferences. Is that correct?
Crime and Con.
Mm-hmm. And you've done media interviews.
A few.
You've been asked many, many times, when did you first feel that something was wrong with Melissa? Haven't you?
When she didn't call or come to see me on Christmas Day, 1998.
And you knew in your gut something was wrong at that moment?
Yes.
And Melissa didn't have a phone?
No, sir.
She didn't have a landline?
No, sir.
Any way to contact her?
Right.
So when you got worried enough, all you could do is drive up and check on her?
Right.
So you did go drive up and check on her?
We did, but not until after my birthday.
And Carl went with you, right?
Yes.
And you just testified that Carl had grown up in College Park.
Right.
And that's kind of down near the airport, right?
Right.
And also in East Point, is that right?
I'm not sure about East Point.
Didn't his grandfather have a house on Main Street in College Park?
I do not know.
But he knew the area in general, didn't he?
I would assume so.
When Melissa didn't call you on your birthday, as you said, you and Carl drove up to Brookline Street to their house, didn't you?
Yes, we did.
And you and Carl went together. You found their house empty. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you talked to the neighbors?
Carl talked to the neighbor.
Carl talked to the neighbors. And when I say you in that context, I mean you and Carl collectively. And Carl apparently learned from those people at the same time that Chris had moved out around Christmas.
Yes, sir.
And that he had worked at Action Glass around the corner.
Yes, sir.
On Avon Avenue.
Yes.
Do you remember talking to Detective Shepard in 2021?
Yes, sir.
As part of getting the investigation of this case re-going again?
Yes.
And do you remember telling Detective Shepard at that time that it wasn't until late 1999 or early 2000 until you went up there?
I really don't remember.
Boom. just boom, because end of the this is why the defense are showing the podcast narrative, because already you're seeing that the main reason why this case is being brought is because of the influence of the family. Now the jury are going to hear this and they're like, wait a minute, the state are they bringing this case because of you or because they actually have enough evidence? That's what I'm guessing. I don't know if the jury are, I mean, I will be thinking that, but this is, in my opinion, this is not good, because we already heard this testimony, and we heard testimony that her birthday was in February 1999. So after her birthday, that Melissa did not happen after that, that's when it started looking. But she was telling the detective working on this particular case to basically bring this case forward that they didn't look until 2000. And I don't know why the change. I would never understand why the change of the urgency from 2000 onto now telling the jury that they were actually acting, really quickly. So this harms, in my opinion, it harms her credibility a little bit, but the defense bring up much later on in regards to her dislike for Chris after this testimony is, to be honest, is pretty key, because it gives the idea that she has every reason to believe that he did it, and it's not because of she saw something material or she saw something that could have proved he did it, but rather is because she just has a hunch he just looks a certain way. So she didn't like him dating the daughter. So because of that, this looks like she is able to exaggerate information, invent information. There's bias, of course, here when to have all to look at Chris and be like, yeah, he's a guy. And especially with now how they have Alton Glass, I think it's called Alton Glass or whatever, trying to tie the workplace to this. But to me, I said it from day one, it doesn't make sense. From day two, it doesn't make sense that someone will commit a crime near the workplace. It's the most sloppy thing I can probably think of. Like, why on earth would you have, let's just take it on face value, this whole workplace near and the remains find near there. Why would you first and foremost dump the remains? But even if you're not dumping remains, even if you're doing it right there and there, why on earth would you just be like, Melissa, wait here for a second, I gotta go pick up something? You run inside the workplace, pick up the saw, hide it behind your hand, knock her out, then start this. It's not. Anyway, let's just listen to this.
That when you got worried after your birthday, you went to Christopher's mother's house.
I did not go. When I went to Kathy's house, I caught her coming out. I don't remember the exact date or what, even what month it was, but I was riding by her house, saw her getting out of the car, and I pulled in there and asked her where Melissa was.
Okay. And that was after she had been identified or before? Obviously it was before.
This was back 1999.
Okay.
When she was missing.
In all your interviews, however, you've been very consistent and made it very clear that on one thing, and that is that you despised Christopher from the very first time you saw him. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much.
You said that you didn't like the way his eyes looked.
Right.
You've said in podcasts that you just saw meanness in his eyes.
As my mother would say, that's
the very first time you met him, and he would have been about, what, 15 years old?
Somewhere around there.
Maybe even a little bit younger?
Older, maybe.
Maybe a little older?
Because I believe he was driving at that point.
When he first started dating Melissa, you had him arrested at your house many times, didn't you?
I did.
Reported him as trespassing.
Yes.
How many times would you say? 8? 10?
I don't know.
You did everything.
Make a guess.
I'm sorry.
I wouldn't make a guess.
Okay. You did everything you could to prevent them from dating, though, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
You moved her to a separate location for a while, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
You isolated her. You tried to prevent her from leaving your house. Correct?
Correct.
You tried to make her take birth control.
I did make her take birth control. I thought I was
Also,
making her take.
as you testified on Friday, she was pretending to take it and not taking it.
Right.
All right. So that part of the testimony is really key here, because this particular part is he brought it back here after presenting all of that to basically highlight why she would be actually be doing this.
From the temporary guardian. Was that also, do you know at the time, was that also Melissa's understanding?
Yes.
Okay. So did she file the I want my kids back papers?
Yes.
And she was with you?
Yes.
And did you go get physical custody of the children?
Yes.
Did you have the children physically, not with you at that time, but with you in your house at that time?
Yes.
Okay. And she was away from Chris, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is the time that they were having all of the temporary protective order court that was reversed, and she was speaking with Melissa at the courthouse.
But she had a court date at the end of that week, right?
Yes, she did.
Okay. And you've already discussed about how you went to that court date, and Christopher asked if he could speak to her alone, I think were your words?
Yes.
And the judge allowed that.
Yes.
And when you say that he spoke to her alone, did they go into a private room somewhere?
Yes, they did.
They did. The judge allowed them to go to just those two into a private room?
Yes.
Okay. And when they came out, she had all that in her favor already. Her kids back, her legal papers back, with you, and the kids with you.
Yes.
And she chose Chris.
Yes.
So the idea that presents, and this was a very masterful cross, because the idea that presents is she has a lot more reason to hate Chris, because for some reason this particular conversation ended up with her losing the custody of the child that she once had. They also pointed out that at the time that and this was to get ahead this was to basically counter what Norma was basically testifying to on direct examination on day 2, saying that she had sore bruises on Melissa. So they highlighted that she never mentioned bruises to Detective Calhoun contemporaneously. So that was made that was highlighted for the record. The defense also highlighted that Norma never the defense highlighted that Norma highlighted that Melissa what's going on today, my bad. Okay, the defense highlighted that Melissa was arrested for violating her probation. This was in regards to the arrest in California, but she herself doesn't know the details of that particular arrest. The defense also highlights this is when it got messy, because this is when they brought in the criminal history of the Pattons, how Carl Patton and the involvement in the killings, and how Carl would kill people for insurance money. It was honestly brutal, in my opinion. But the most important part of the testimony came from, I believe, let me see if I got it at the right timestamp. But in all fairness, if the jury wants to infer much from this testimony, because people were basically confused why their criminality would matter in a case like this, especially when it comes, from what I understand, when it comes to defendants, you can't bring this stuff in. Even if the defendant had a rap sheet longer than rob so many banks, etc., you can't bring that in to basically try to say that he's a bad person, unless, and it's a very high bar as well, unless is directly relevant. So let's say I don't even know if I can give a good working example, because I don't know if that example has been overturned by appeals. But let's just say that the same guy, that they have that it was an attempted murder, and this same defendant had tried to kill him before. So now that they defend that, that he's now dead, and they have evidence that there was an attempted murder, maybe that might come in to basically try to say, yeah, that this guy had tried to kill him before, he served time, he was convicted or something like that, he was released, and now he's dead. So maybe that might come in. I don't think so. But when is the other side? When is the state presenting the case? As long as it's not even hard. If it's relevant, it comes in. It just comes in. It just comes in. And we've seen a lot of that, especially with this particular witness, because it's relevant in regards to her motives to even testify here. Her truthfulness in her testimony goes towards her credibility, because she took an amenity to testify against her husband. And she even said on the stand today that she only testified against her husband because of the fact that he told her to basically say, yeah, testify against me so that you can raise your kids. I mean, when I heard that testimony, I was thinking, yeah, like you sound like somebody that will do something that someone tells you to do, that you will just follow along. You don't really have a mind of your own, and you most likely can make up facts just for, if not because you hate somebody, is because somebody else told you. And I believe that when she gave this testimony, it kind of makes her look bad, because the campaign for Melissa, etc., actually began with her sister Tina May. So you don't know if Tina had basically put her up. You don't know if Tina had basically put her up to say what she's saying. I'm not saying that's what happened, by the way. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just analyzing based on the testimony I've heard.
Was he an alcoholic?
Yes.
Okay. And did you help Carl dispose of those bodies that you killed in your house?
Yes.
And just briefly, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but how did you do that?
I don't understand how to answer that question.
How were those bodies disposed of?
They were in sleeping bags, and we took them to where they were thrown into the water.
So you drove one of them to the Flint River, correct?
Yes.
And how far was that from your house at the time?
I don't know, probably 25 miles.
Okay. And you took the other one to the Ocmulgee River, is that correct?
Correct.
And how far was that from your house?
I don't recall. I don't know.
And if you had this much involvement with your husband, why weren't you prosecuted also?
I was given immunity for my testimony against him.
Okay. And you, in fact, asked for immunity, didn't you?
Well, yes.
Okay. So you ended up serving a year of probation, is that correct?
That's correct.
Carl was especially upset with Liddy, wasn't he?
Yes.
As he saw it, it was her loose tongue that caused him to have to kill his best friend.
Yes.
And did he cut the midsection out of her pants
I have no idea.
after he killed her?
I have no idea.
Okay. Were all of Carl's victims and your victims, were they either close friends or family members?
Family members.
Okay.
I don't, cause Pete was a close friend, Liddy not so much.
Okay. Who was Wendy Archer?
My best friend's daughter.
Okay. And did she come over to your house?
When?
During the time Melissa lived with you?
When they were younger, growing up, yes.
Okay. Did they spend a lot of time together?
Yes.
And were they locked in a room together?
No.
Okay. Does the name Martin Eric Jackson mean anything to you?
Yes.
Who was Martin?
He was, his mother was common law wife to Fred.
And who was Fred?
Fred was Carl's uncle.
Okay. Was he one of Carl's victims also?
Yes.
Was Mr. Wyatt a drug dealer?
Yes.
Okay. Did Martin visit your house?
No.
Eric? Yes.
Did you call him by his middle name?
I'm going to object again on relevance.
Okay. So they objected there. This is the point I want to get to, and I will summarize all of those.
Was he friends with Carl? Frequently visited your house? First of all, was it my understanding that you referred to him as Eric?
Right.
Okay. And was Eric someone who was frequently visited your house?
I'm sorry.
It's Ruth Ann says we thought the last trial was wild. Then this one comes along and says, "Oh, it might be this one." I don't think anything can beat Nicholas Casotis, but a serial killer for your father would do that.
On occasions, yes.
Was he friends with Carl?
I don't know that you would call him friend. He was Fred Wyatt's stepson
Okay.
through common law marriage.
Okay. And at some point, did Melissa say anything to you about making a complaint against Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
And what was that?
It was that he molested her.
Okay. And how old was she when she made that claim?
I think it was right before her 9th birthday.
Is that when she told you, or is that when she said it happened, or was that the same?
It was when we found out. That's when she told us.
Okay. And did you go to the police with that?
Yes.
And was Mr. Jackson indicted for that?
No, he was not.
And, okay. So there was no prosecution for that?
Right.
Wasn't Mr. Jackson also the son of Richard Russell Jackson?
Yes.
And who was Richard Russell Jackson?
He was a friend of Fred.
And was he also one of Carl Patton's victims?
Yes.
Now, they had a third party theory culprit. Now, they had a third. Like, I got to say here, if the defense is asserting third party culprit, it's probably the hardest thing to make it stick. But when you have not only a family of a serial killer, but also friends with serial killers that were molesting friends, not victims of the serial killer that were friends with him, molesting his daughter. When you have this, end of the day, why was these guys not the subject? It's a very plausible argument. Why are these guys not the subject of the investigation? If the jury were to forgive everything that the parents had done, let's just say that they decide, look, we're not going to care about the father. He's a serial killer. He's dead as well. We're not going to care about him. We're not going to care about the mother because she seems truthful to us. She had helped put him away. She took an immunity. We don't care if she took an immunity or not. She still testified truthfully in court. So therefore, we believe her words is truthful. But end of the day, you cannot deny that there could be a grudge to take revenge against Carl Patton for what he essentially did to these people after they are maybe found out. We don't know if these people are found out, and frankly it doesn't really matter, because end of the day, before Carl was even indicted for those murders, they could have had a hunch, and they were all close with this guy. The fact that we even got to hear the testimony about the molestation, and yet we are now looking at a trial in which they're asserting that there was domestic violence going on. Even if, let's just say that's the truth and there was domestic violence going on, you have a lot more probable, especially here, that someone could have literally killed her because she denied his advances this time. Like the first time he was molesting her, this time he tries again and she was like, no. It's possible. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm saying when the prosecution has not even presented a theory to say this is how he did it, this was his movement. We remember from the Nicholas Cassodes case that even without the prosecution presenting all of the evidence, like how she already told Mindy, how she already told other people that she was already dead, even though they didn't have that evidence, they still showed enough to basically show that there was a high likelihood that this guy had done what he's being accused of. We haven't seen that here, except for he has a DV background in which there was a temporary order taken against him. Now, the defense went on to highlight that the mother was also advocating for Carl to be paroled from prison. So the podcast hosts that they were doing were advocating, basically saying, hey, release Carl from prison, he doesn't deserve to be in prison. And Carl was also writing letters to all of these hosts thanking them for their efforts. Carl of course died in 2024, and I thought that this was great lawyering, in my opinion, because not only do you have the backdrop of hearing the testimony of what we just heard, you now have someone that is likely unrepentant of the part that she played in all of this, that she still wanted this guy released, even though she knew she did it, put him in prison. She still wanted him released. I guess you can call it love. I guess so, maybe. All this time she's still in love, but at the same time, it's just it doesn't. I cannot say that the average person is gonna look at that and look at their actions now testifying to put this guy away. We haven't seen anything that he's done that is overtly wrong or anything like that, and they're being told put him away because this family, who is dysfunctional at this point, presented as dysfunctional, are saying that he's a bad guy and they just didn't like how he looked. That's essentially what I'm getting here from the defense argument. The defense also highlighted that she would not search for Melissa when she was missing, because she failed to report her missing until, I believe it was 2001, I believe, or 2001, one of the two. That's when she reported her missing. Was getting out when Chris got arrested. Now Carl is gone. Absolutely. She also, on redirect exam, they tried to rehabilitate, but you can't rehabilitate this. You really can't, because all she testified to was in regards to why she didn't. All she testified to was why she basically gave testimony in regards to the immunity that she gave, and she just testified that Carl told her to go ahead and and testify that he was the one that done all this, testify against him so that you can graze the grandkids. The state may have thought that that's a good move to have, but I don't know. I think that just ruins, like I brought up earlier, I think that just ruins her credibility and just shows that she is likely easily compromised, that she would say whatever. She will say whatever when the facts might not be 100% straight. Like that's what I got from that redirect. Like it just didn't make her. It just didn't make her seem credible, because if you plant a seed, she will run with it. Like she already didn't like him as well. She already didn't like him. She already also lost the custody to her parents. She has every reason to maybe even cover up for somebody else who may have done this and know it, because she's done it before. Like, these questions are going to linger on the jury's mind, in my honest opinion. So let's move on to the next witness that came up, and that was Thomas Dickson. He came up after the break, and he gave testimony in regards to him being the supervisor of him being a supervisor at Waffle House, and Melissa was basically his waitress, and they started becoming intimate during the fall. I gotta criticize the prosecution here. They didn't even try to probe and find out which fall: 1994, 1995, 1996, 1997. Nothing. It's just fall. So I don't know when he's talking about. I don't know when he began being intimate. I can only assume that it was fall 2008. Fall 2000. I can only assume it was fall 1997, because on February 1998, based on what we heard from Tina May's testimony, that was when the whole Waffle House incident happened, and we got to hear a bit more about why that incident likely occurred on cross-examination. We are going to get to that, but essentially he had laid the seeds for that and said that Chris came through the Waffle House and Melissa was basically crying, and that was the reason why he went up to Chris and told him to basically leave, and he watched her leave with Melissa, who was crying. So that was his testimony. He also testified to seeing the car as he was leaving, spinning, veering off the road. He also testified that Melissa would talk to him about the abusive relationship that with Chris, and saying that he could see it, even though he could essentially see the issues, and he went on to describe the bruises that she had, the marks and the scratch marks. Let's go and listen to that testimony here, and then I'll talk to me about it. Let's listen to the testimony, and then we'll talk about it.
About an abusive relationship she was in.
Okay. If I can get you to speak up so I can make sure I'm hearing everything that you're saying. Could you repeat that?
Yes, she would talk to me about her abusive relationship with Chris.
Okay. How, and you say abusive, but when you describe it as abusive, what exactly did she say to give you the impression she was describing abuse?
I mean, she wouldn't really exactly describe the details, but I could see it. It was visible on her body.
And what do you mean by that?
The marks, the scratches, the bruises.
Okay. You saw signs of what appeared to be abuse.
Yeah.
When was this? When was this?
And where on her body would you see that?
On her arms. I seen one on her cheekbone.
And besides the individual that you're referring to, did you know any of Melissa's family, sister? Did you know any family members?
No. Mm-mm.
As much as this was a good testimony to at least distance him from knowing the family members, so there's no influence from them, it is still the most sloppiest work, because the end of this direct examination was him telling the law enforcement that he told them the same thing and he testified to this. He says that he told him the same thing in December. The same issue as I'm saying here for the end of the direct examination, no time was given, happened again, because we don't know what December 2000 or December 1999. I'm guessing 1999 because law enforcement had already found the body on April and July. But again, the prosecution, it's like they don't know what case they're trying. I mean, this is like even though she didn't say it, because Rufan says, I want to see what this witness looked like 25 years ago. But I want to make the point that this is 25 years ago. If you're dealing, I'm not a lawyer, so I'll put my hand up, but I would imagine if you're dealing with a case like this, where it is so long ago, the one thing you want to nail down for the jury would be a timeline. I mean, you can get away nowadays without explicitly saying the timeline, without explicitly saying that it happened this day, that day. It would help, but at least you have technology to back you up. You know, you have the text messages to back you up. If you have that, you have all of these things, but it will still be helpful, especially in a case like this, that dates are established, especially when you're seeing bruises of somebody. You should be asking, when did you see these bruises? Maybe he doesn't want to ask because maybe the prosecution doesn't want to ask because they have already heard for 2 days. They've heard their key witnesses say, I can't remember. I don't remember. They I'll be honest as well, they didn't ask the witness on day 2, Cooley, I forgot her name, Deborah Cooley or whatever her name is, the neighbor that heard the domestic violence incident. They also didn't ask her regarding the dates. But when you have seen so many people say, I don't remember, maybe you just don't want to try it so that it doesn't fall apart. But in my opinion, that is that is more so the reason why I question why this case was brought in the first place. It's like they don't have their ducks in a row. And yeah, like I have no words. But anyway, on cross-examination, he gave testimony that he was having an affair also with a woman called Deborah, and Deborah had found out about Melissa, so they had trouble at the Waffle House. So because we don't have a date, we have to assume that this was why Chris was at the Waffle House, because at the end of the day, Deborah could have told him, hey, your wife is cheating on you. So he finds out, goes to Waffle House to confront I forgot his name already, Thomas Dickson. So he goes on to confront her. He also, I don't know, I got a bit, I didn't know where this testimony was going, because he basically testified to having sex with Melissa multiple times. But the defense basically said that it was actually twice. It came out it was actually once or twice that he had sex. And I don't know if they actually had sex at the Waffle House or whether it was at his residence. It was never clear where all this happened, because we also heard testimony that they would stay on top of the roof at the Waffle. I don't know why this was even relevant. I don't know. I have no idea what the relevance of going up to the roof of the Waffle House is, but I guess it was to paint the idea that her and Thomas had a really intimate relationship. So therefore, there's a likelihood that Chris was jealous of this relationship. So I personally, the defense also highlighted that he told Detective Calhoun that Melissa never spoke about her children, despite him testifying that she would mention her kids once or twice and she missed them. So impeachment, like not impeachment, but he's just trying to show that the memory gaps are there. But end of the day, I still believe it's a long shot. It's a long shot with his testimony, because I do think that his memory is probably the best memory out of all of the witnesses that we've heard. But I can see why, because I think he was probably in love with Melissa, if I'm being honest with you. He also testifies that to saying that he would have done something if he had a cell phone, if he had a cell phone at the time, but in 2003 he did have cell phone, which again is just it's just more issues for the states, because they now have a witness that is just giving testimony that is inconsistent. I wish I had a cell phone at the time. That way I would know, but then he gets up for a time. He's also a convicted felon. So if you fought, there were no more felons. If you thought there were no more felons that was coming up, this guy just went ahead and blew that door down, blew the house down. Yes, he was convicted of bank robbery in 2010. I personally didn't see the relevance of it. If I'm being honest with you, I didn't see the relevance. But it's just nice to know that there was another convicted felon that this guy knows that could have been a likely third party culprit as well. Because he could have wanted Melissa. He could have wanted Melissa dead for not choosing him. Let's just be real. They were having an affair. It's just wild, this case. It's extremely wild that we have so many felons that have come in to testify. Even a witness on day 2 that has nothing to do with this case was a felon. Multiple convictions, multiple arrests. All around the time that she has supposed to have seen an abuse. So so he did have a bank robbery conviction. On redirect, probably one of the weirdest testimony that I've heard on redirect, and that was when he testified to the inmates when he was arrested. He heard about Melissa and the code files when he was playing a deck of cards. I couldn't believe it. But he made that testimony that he was playing a deck of cards. So there was a cold case file there, and that's how he heard of Melissa.
And when was the most recent time?
2010.
2010.
Mm-hmm.
Did they convict you of a new felony, or did they just violate your probation?
Probation violation,
Okay.
yeah.
And what was the reason for that probation violation?
Non-reporting.
In 2010?
No, 2010 is when I got arrested.
Okay. And what were you convicted of?
Robbery by intimidation.
And you were robbing a bank, is that correct?
Yes.
And you told the teller...
Not banks, one bank.
I thought I said a bank. I'm sorry.
I don't think so.
And how much time did you serve?
10 years.
10 years. And you got out in 2020, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think they brought him up to make him look bad. I think they brought him up because the police were gonna bring up how he knew that how he knew in regards to this whole case and how he would be involved now. I think the defense knew that, and they just had to bring it up to basically show he was in prison. They could have brought it up on recross. It really doesn't matter, because end of the day, they just had to show that how he got involved in this case. That's what I think.
No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Faucette?
Cold case. When did you come to find out about Melissa Wolfenbarger's open cold case?
When he came and talked to me in 2003, but then I didn't hear nothing else until 2010 when I went to prison.
Okay. Did you ever see a card or image?
Yes.
With Melissa Wolfenbarger's
Yes. When I went to jail in 2010, I haven't heard anything since 2003. The interview with the detective, and then I went to jail in Fulton County in 2010, and I was playing cards, and her picture was on a playing card. It was a cold case files.
Okay. Prior to that, did you have any knowledge?
How is an inmate having access to cold case files and he's playing cards on the deck. That's just wild to me. And I don't know how the prosecution just glossed over that. Is it that sloppy that you would, think about it. You have the jury right here listening to this testimony. They're going to be wondering, how are you getting the cold case files right here of this person? How did that happen? And the prosecution are not even trying to give any kind of breakdown to kind of show, wait, was it TV? Did you see it on TV? Was it, what files are you referring to? How, because it just sounds to me that there were files given to, there were just files lying around for the inmates to just basically get hold of. I thought that was weird. And let's continue.
That there was an actual open case pending?
No, I didn't. I moved on, forgot.
Now, in addition to the abrasions that you've testified that you observed, did Melissa ever describe did she ever describe verbally with any type of detail what the defendant had done to her?
I heard one time that she was pulled by her hair up and down the sidewalk.
Okay. And who exactly are you referring to, and who was pulled by the hair?
Melissa.
And to the best of your recollection, who was it that's being described as the person who's responsible for that?
Christopher.
And is that information that you would have received from Melissa Wolfenbarger during that 1998 period?
Yeah.
1998, we finally have a time frame. You don't know when in 1998. It's 1998.
Anything else, Mr. McDermott?
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. You may.
There was nothing to clean up. There was just nothing to clean up there because end of the day, we're now hearing out of nowhere that, that he was being pulled. And it's likely true that she was being pulled by the hair. And she told him that. It's likely true. I'm going to it's in evidence now. I'm going to take it on board. Yeah. So they could have been DV and it's coming from him. All of this is just to build up to the cycle of abuse and why there was likely that withdrawal of the protective order. But this is why I am heavily criticizing the prosecution, because you don't know when these incidents happen. If this all happened after the protective order, then the theory falls apart. But if it happened before that, the theory holds up. But at the same time, if you don't have the dates down packed, if you don't have the dates brought out in evidence so that you can at least use it as reminders in the closing examinations, I just don't see how the police is going to tie even their own theory of domestic violence, how they're going to tie it and make it easier to understand for the jury and just remove all of this idea that there was a third party culprit. How are they going to do it without a cohesive timeline to present to the jury? That's my only fear or worry for the prosecution. So next we heard from the lovely Christina Garrett, and she is, and in my opinion, she was probably the sanest witness out of all of them, like the most sympathetic witness. She is the daughter of Melissa, and she moved in with the Wolfenbargers when she was younger. She also testified to wondering who Melissa was. I'll be very honest, from the bat, I did not honestly know what main value she provided outside of she just looked for who the mom was. I don't know how she tied to Christopher, or like she was only 3 when she was alive. When the mother would have been alive, she was only 3 years old. So it's not like she can recollect much. So I didn't know much about what she had to say. What value that she had for the prosecution, but she did give testimony in regards to learning about who Melissa's parents were. and this was during the funeral for Melissa, and this was around 2002, 2003. They didn't really like the Wolfenbargers. They were still blaming the Wolfenbargers at this point. This is why I say I don't know what value this hold, because after that cross-examination of Norma, we now hear more hatred towards the Wolfenbarger, which would just add to the defense theory of the case, that these guys don't like him and they're just likely going to lie to put him in prison. So she also testified that Kathy Wolfenbarger, who is the person that raised her up, and I told her that the Pattons, which is where Melissa came from, that the Pattons were basically bad people, and she was cautioned not to speak with them, and she said that they didn't even want to go to the funeral to see of Melissa. Maybe this was why she was brought up, because they just didn't like the Pattons either, and they didn't even go to the funeral for this daughter that they supposedly cared for. Maybe that was why. But I just, anyway, I'll just move on. It's just my own personal view that she's not, that she's not that valuable for their case. Anyway, she testified that the funeral was more of a celebration of life, and there was not even a body in the casket. It was just an empty casket. She also gave testimony that Melissa had just ran off to a different place. That's what her parents had told her. And she also testified to being told by Chris and I thought that this testimony was kind of weird. This was in 2013, I believe 2013, or something along those lines. They didn't really give a timeline, but hey Zach, welcome. Hey Catcher, I'm trying to catch up quick, Zach. But yeah, they didn't really give a timeline, but she said that she was told that Melissa could be in heaven, hell, or Stockbridge. I don't know what they mean. Let's see if we can figure out together what they mean by this.
And put it under where the foundation of the house is going to go. And so when the crew comes back to lay the foundation the next morning, they're just going to continue building the house.
So was he trying to explain, is that how you hide a body?
Yes, ma'am.
And when he said that to you, what was your reaction to that?
It caught me off guard at first.
You said at first?
Yes, we were on our way to the gas station, so it was kind of convenient time for him to say it. I could just kind of sit there until he got done pumping gas. And then the conversation resumed after.
Did you ever ask him any questions once he said, this is how you kind of hide the body, you get buried under?
Yes, it was like, it sounds like you're talking about my mom.
That's what you said to him?
Right.
Did he have a reaction?
Yes.
What was that?
That was when he told me that he didn't know where my mom was. He didn't know if she was in heaven, hell, Stockbridge, but he wished that he did.
And when he said he didn't know if she was in heaven, hell, or Stockbridge, was that now different than her being in California or somewhere else?
Very much so.
Yeah. So this was, I don't know what time this was. We don't know what time this was. As Melissa already passed on, it's not been established. They don't know, because at the end of the day, she was only 4. She was only 4 around 1998, 1999, when Melissa had unfortunately passed away. So 3 and 4. So when did this conversation happen? We don't know the timeline. We don't know the dates. The prosecution are not providing that for us. They just want us to play Cluedo and just try and figure out ourselves.
I'm sorry, can you ask me that one more time? I'm sorry.
No problem. Is it your testimony, if I want to make sure I'm clear, that you don't remember in any of those conversations talking to any of those individuals about Chris having a place to hide? Or telling you that
The most that I can remember is him saying he could get away.
Okay. What do you remember about that?
Just that he was able to get away.
Is that the only thing he said, or is there more context to that statement?
I remember like when he got his license in 2013 and he came back home to show us the license, it had his old address on it. And he said during that conversation that when they come looking for me, they'll go to East McIntosh, not Liberty Circle.
And he said when they come looking for me, did he ever talk about the who or the they that they were referring to?
No, ma'am.
I what's the context? That could literally let's be real for a moment. Who are you going to believe? What are you going to believe hearing this testimony? If you're a juror, what are you going to believe? That the day is referring to the police looking for him, or the serial killer family that literally lost custody to the daughter, and his family did not even go to the funeral? Which one is it? He was probably joking, says Rufan. I don't even think that he was even talking about the same subject in regards to the feds or anything like that. I think it's just completely different subject that we don't even know. Like there is no context to this from my recollection of watching this whole exchange. If I was a juror and I'm trying to infer something, I think he's more likely to be afraid of the serial killer family after the father was indicted in 2003. Yeah, shoot, they were like they were looking for me, or God knows what. Like, I'm not the best at giving examples, but I think that is more of a reason to be fearful than law enforcement. However, they gave cross-examination, but nothing really of note, in my opinion, came from it. But they did give testimony. Alton B. Calhoun, who was a former homicide detective, gave testimony. He is not a felon, thank God. He's not a felon like like the previous witnesses. In fact, I believe he was probably the most credible witness out of all of them. He was very sharp. So, and he was the detective. He did not have a direct involvement in the investigation that was going on, but he testified to getting details of that investigation when he began getting involved. I believe he said in 2003 when it became a cold case. So he basically got information and did the work on the case, but he just didn't have a direct involvement. So he said that he knew that the head was found on April 1999, and July 1999 the other body parts were found 50 yards from her head. So I thought that his testimony was beneficial, but the fact that the rest of the parts were that close together and they didn't find it for like 2 more months, really sloppy there, because you have to wonder what they were doing for that long, that they didn't canvass the whole area. They didn't lock up the whole area to actually just try and find more body parts. Why they didn't do a wide search opens more questions. It invites more questions, is what I mean to say. Sorry, it invites more questions. His testimony ended today, and we're still gonna go through. We still have his examination to go through, but I'm gonna go through the quick parts that I thought was key from his testimony, because he gave testimony in regards to the body parts being found near action glass. Let's go and take a look here.
Zones 3, so I may say names just because I know the area. It's just stand right there at that corner, Avon and Hartford, and maybe walk 10 yards to Hartford. I maybe walk another 20 yards down Hartford Avenue, and then just turn right there into the wooded area and go into the wooded area another 10 yards. So no more than 50 yards at the most.
Is there a business located at Avon and Hartford?
Yes, there's several businesses located over there.
Do you know any of the names of any of them?
I know of one particular big business, Action Glass.
Okay, and where's that located?
That's located right there at, like I said, right there at Avon and Hartford Avenue, actually, co-located right where the remains were found, right across the street, exactly.
But you originally did not have anything directly to do with this case originally.
That is correct.
So the one part about his testimony that I found interesting was the part that he said there are many businesses located in that location. But the remains were found close to Action Glass. I keep forgetting the name of that business, but anyway, the remains was found close to that, but there were also so many other businesses. Again, it just begs the question: why on earth would anybody who is murdering somebody, how do you even get the thought, let me go and dismember this, let me just quickly knock her upside the head, put her in this bag, carry the bag all the way to Action Glass, say, oh, the reason why I'm here, oh, I know, Action Glass has the tools that I need, let me go in there and take the tool, forgetting that he had already borrowed this. He had already borrowed the tool. So it's the shakiest foundation I have. It's not even a foundation. I don't know what the hell it is. It's not even building a house on sand. It's like building a house on the damn sea. I like, that doesn't make sense. Like, so he also, Detective Calhoun also gave testimony that Chris had told him that she had moved on, and I thought that this testimony was probably the most beneficial for the prosecution. Let's go and watch this testimony unfold.
When was the last time he saw her?
And did he give you any explanation why he had not talked to his wife?
No, it was just one of those things of, he thought that she had moved on with her life. He gave us a time frame when he last saw her, but thought that she had just moved on with her life, and that was just the gist of it.
Did anything in this conversation, did you find anything unusual about this conversation? Did he say anything unusual to you?
Well, again, we're in speaking with Mr. Wolfenbarger. The one thing that I found unusual, he's telling us about, Melissa's his wife, when's the last time he saw her, and he said he saw her about last of March, April, somewhere in that time frame of 1999.
Okay.
So,
and why is that unusual?
It was unusual to me because Mr. Wolfenbarger was actually, talking about the time frame when we know the remains were found, so he could not have seen her then.
Did you ask him about any other men that she may have had in her life?
Yes, I did.
And what did you find out?
And again, in keeping with what he's telling us about their relationship and moving on, that he knew that she had been seeing someone else and actually identified this person as someone that he knew to be Mike. They worked together.
When you say they worked together, who do you mean?
He's speaking about Melissa and Mike.
Okay. And where did you find out she worked?
I learned that she worked at the Waffle House in Doraville.
Mike. We heard from Thomas Dickson. Is his name Mike? I don't know. This is another person. This is another person that Melissa was likely. I don't want to get it wrong, but the name, I don't want to get it wrong. I feel like I'm getting it wrong here. Is it like, but it sounds like either Chris didn't get the name right and gave it to Alton, or it's two different people that Melissa was having an affair with. If it's two different people, there's more of a reason to, that this is enough cause, in my opinion, to basically go off in a jealous rage. If I would give the prosecution theory any credence, but it's powerful testimony to hear this, because how would Chris wouldn't know that she's dead, so how would he have seen her at that point? Could he have at the time told him a probably wrong time? Who knows? I don't think so. Okay. Oh, okay, cool. It was Thomas. His middle name is Michael. So they called him Mike. Okay, fair enough. Cool. Thank you, Leslie, a law nerd. This is why sometimes I rely on my chat, because I'm very I did not actually, like, I always, when I make my notes, I always put down the first and the last name. I might have to change that policy now, but nonetheless, there is enough motive here. They don't have to prove motive, but at least now we're getting an idea that there could be jealousy going on here. At the same time, happily angry lawyer says, I think they call him Waffle Daddy, actually. Waffle Daddy. Oh Lord, oh gosh, that's funny. At the same time, I gotta share this. Okay, so they were. How would the jury take that on, in regards to, they might give it a bit more credence, especially with the fact that Chris had said that especially with the fact that they might give it credence, but we also heard testimony from the neighbors that Chris had already moved away in February. So how could he have seen her in March? Like, he had already moved away in February. We heard testimony in regards to that he packed. He never had the clothes. There's that. Like there was no female clothes around. It was just, he had already moved away. So how would he have? It doesn't even make sense how he would have seen her in March, because he wasn't even in the county based on other people's testimony. So to me, that's just very weird. Aptly Angry Lawyer says, I wanted to hear more about his life, waffles to bank heist. He's an interesting career. That's actually true. To be honest, it's things like this that I do wish I was a lawyer, because I do wish I was a lawyer, because I would actually. How did you fall on hard times? How did you get into the profession of robbing banks? Not two banks, one bank. One. Not two, one. How did you get into that? What interests you with this career turn? You should do criminal law. Like, I know you do civil, but I would have loved you to ask that question. But anyway, let me continue with the testimony from Alton Calhoun, and he also gave testimony in regards to her and him parting ways, and described what she looked like, but there was no time frame given for given for this. This was Chris. This was testimony from Chris.
And she's looking kind of rough, and okay. Tell me when's the last time he did mention seeing her walking down in the area where they used to live at on near Brookline and Murphy Avenue, in that area. They went to lunch. He described, what she looked like, and she was looking kind of rough, and he just, they went to Taco Bell at 8, and he put her out near the MARTA station, and they parted ways, never to see her again.
Did he give you a time frame for that conversation?
No, I don't recall him giving me a time frame.
See, like, so they can ask questions in regards to the time frame. Why didn't you ask this question with the previous witness, Thomas Dickson, who actually saw the marks on her? This prosecution, like if they lose, they don't have enough to begin with, but at least help yourself. At least help yourself. So he also gave testimony in regards to getting hair samples, etc., from Chris. And he says that he was not basically cooperating with them. It was kind of weird testimony, because I would think that, like, I don't know what he was trying to do here, because everyone does have a right to not cooperate with law enforcement. Well, not let me change my wording. They don't have to speak with law enforcement unless they really have to. And based on what he testified to, they eventually got it when they had a subpoena. So that sounds to me like he was just exercising his right, having a lawyer present, and when they finally got the subpoena to get all these things from him, then he started giving it over. I don't see the issue, but he tried to make it seem like like Chris was evading or wasn't really cooperating. We already know that this is kind of weird, because we heard testimony from day 2 where Detective Steve O'Hare had basically said, or on cross examination, he gave testimony that he was already cooperating with law enforcement, giving hair samples, etc., when they needed it. Maybe this was what he was referring to on that cross examination on day 2, that this was when he actually did cooperate. So maybe that's where the stories interject. He also gave testimony that when he spoke to Carl Patton, he felt that him and Melissa had a good relationship, and he had no reason to believe that he would kill her. Let's actually watch that testimony, because I found this, I don't know, man. I don't know. He lost all credibility for me here.
We needed other samples from Chris, and that's when we went and got his hair samples. But yes, they were all sent to the GBI crime. They were initially sent to GBI, but then we sent further samples to the FBI.
And were you able to make any matches based on those samples?
We were not able to make any matches.
There was no match to Chris.
Did you ever talk to the defendant about about Melissa's relationship with Carl Patton, her father?
Yes, I did.
And what did he tell you the relationship was like?
Chris suggested to me that the relationship was, it was good. Melissa was not afraid of her father. She had no reason to be afraid of her father. And if I can just back up a little bit and give my reasons for asking him that.
Sure.
I was familiar with Carl Patton, and one of the things was, well, would she have any reason to do this? Would Carl have done this thing to her? And his comment to me was she had no reason to be afraid of her father. Suggesting to me their relationship was good. Overall, family-wise, it wasn't the greatest, but their relationship was good, and he would have had no reason to do anything to her.
Okay.
I know why he's giving this testimony, or why the prosecution would ask this, to of course get rid of the third-party corporate idea. But at the same time, after what we're hearing, it's not just Carl Patton you gotta worry about. This is why I said earlier that even if you eliminate Carl from being the person to have likely done this, even if you eliminate the mother, you still had people that was hurting this poor girl. That you still have people that could have wanted her dead because of what her father did. It doesn't eliminate this theory completely. The defense also highlighted that the crime lab made an error. I'm sorry, this was on cross-examination. They went all in to show the problems that they had in regards to the identification of Melissa. You know, we heard this from Tina Miller, who was on day 1, I believe, and she was basically saying that she thought it was a female skull, but essentially the crime lab came back and said it was a male skull. So he highlighted that mistake, but I believe the reason why he highlighted that mistake was to show that the delays in regards to Melissa and getting the proper evidence was actually due to the failures of the police, and not necessarily because of the dismemberments or the difficulty that the dismemberment would have caused. That he highlighted that it took 4 years to have put together and found out that it was Melissa, and it was only through her dental records that they done this. The defense also highlighted that there were no samples matching to Chris, and he testifies why they didn't match. And I thought that this was the first time that this calm and collected Detective Calhoun was, you know, they finally got under his skin.
Oh, unfortunate.
He was unable to report it.
Okay. You answered a lot of these questions to Mr. Wilson, so I'll go fairly quickly here. During your investigation, after 2003, because now we know who the remains belong to,
Yes,
correct?
sir.
You obtained paint chips because you thought that kind of evidence would be important, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You used the luminol throughout the house in order to detect the presence of any blood in the house,
Yes.
even though it's a couple of years later at this point, correct?
Yes.
In fact, the luminol did designate one place, and it turned out to be an animal's blood or something like that, a dog's blood, correct?
I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with what yours.
It wasn't human blood at any rate, correct?
No, the luminol reacted to something, but I don't know that they ever determined that it belonged to an animal. This, as I said, you know, luminol will react to many things. I don't recall it saying that it reacted to blood at all.
Okay. There was something it reacted to,
Yes,
but it
yes.
ended up not being helpful to the
That's
investigation.
correct, yes.
Okay. So you got paint chips, you got fibers, right?
Yes.
That looked like they were from a bath mat or something like that, correct? You got hair, which
Yes.
you said, and we're going to come back to that in a second, that you got from Mr. Wolfenbarger, correct?
Yes.
And you sent that to the crime lab to compare with hair found in the black bags, correct? There was no match, correct?
There was no match.
You then even got a search warrant to get pubic hair from Mr. Wolfenbarger because there was pubic hair in one of the black bags, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that didn't match.
That is correct.
Okay. So the paint chips don't match, the luminol doesn't turn up anything, the fibers don't match, the pubic hair doesn't match, the hair coming from Mr. Wolfenbarger's head and the hair in the back, nothing matches, correct?
Are you speaking with respect to Mr. Wolfenbarger?
Yes.
Yes. And again, being careful to note what's in the crime lab reports, the hair samples did not, while they were similar to Ms. Wolfenbarger's, they were dissimilar to your client's.
Correct.
So they're probably hers. Yes. The crime lab, and to be clear, because I don't want to make this something, we're saying that nothing matches, but while we were doing the testing that we were doing, the hairs were dissimilar to Chris's, but they were similar to Melissa's Wolfenbarger's,
I understand.
probably her hair. They noted that, well, the pubic hair that they found, we didn't have a sample, so we had to go get a sample from Mr. Wolfenbarger.
Right. That didn't match anything.
Yes, but it noted, again, in the crime lab, it noted that while they were dissimilar, that circumstances change over time. So it's not, I mean, you're saying it's match, but
Every one of these tests, you could explain away if you want. You can say there was, too many years had gone by, but none of it ever showed that he was
yes,
responsible.
but I think it's important to note just what you said, sir. It's not just simply didn't match. There are circumstances.
Okay.
And keep
Did you ever get hair from anybody else?
No, sir.
Did you ever get pubic hairs from anybody else?
No, sir. Can I explain why?
No. Did you ever get DNA from anybody else?
I do think he can explain.
Like the judge made the right decision here because she just basically said, I get why where he was coming from in regards to the yes or no, that he can redirect on this. And I would love to see what the redirect will come from this in regards to getting the hair samples from other people, because it is a very good question to ask. Why did you all of a sudden just zero in on this one person and you didn't try to get hair samples from the people that even knew Melissa? You don't try to eliminate the family. You don't try to bring in the hair samples from this Dickson, from this Dickson Jackson guy, Eric Jackson guy. You don't get hair samples from Dickson. You don't get hair samples from, especially people from that are friends with the family. That is a very good question to ask, because end of the day, it is more likely, and I know we have the domestic violence angle, but it's just more likely that there are other dangerous people out there that may have wanted Melissa killed simply because of the dad. And I think that the jury might not be able to unring that bell that they have heard in regards to this particular family. He went on to give testimony in regards to the cadaver dogs that were on the scene, that that he didn't have cadaver dogs, that the state of Atlanta had cadaver dogs. I don't know what was going on with his testimony, if I'm being honest with you. Maybe he was trying to argue a jurisdiction issue that, I don't know. I have no idea. But that was the bulk of the testimony. He also testified that there was a possibility that Dickson believed that he was really the father of Melissa's baby, and there was testimony in regards to Dickson and Melissa having dates on top of the Waffle House.
That's what he told you, right?
Yes, he said it was possible that he could have been the father, yes.
Right. And that he had talked to her about that.
I don't know if...
He had talked to Melissa about that.
Well, I'm assuming there was some type of conversation, if they're talking pregnancies and who's the father, that
Right.
there was a discussion about it.
Right. And in your report, what you wrote was, when questioned by me as to if he knew if she was pregnant, Mr. Dickson too indicates that it was possible and that it could be that he was the father.
That is correct.
Okay. And he also told you that she stayed with him several occasions at the Shallowford Lodge, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Did he tell you that they also were having their intimate relations on the rooftop of the Waffle House?
Wow, chicken, wow,
You remember him
wow.
telling you that? And
I don't remember him
Your Honor,
telling me that. I don't.
I object to that. That is argumentative, and I
not argumentative. I asked him a question, and it's
not relevant.
well, it's inconsistent with the testimony.
And it's
If it's-
hearsay.
What is, hang on. Are you referring to a report in asking that question,
It's
Mr.
a
Samuel?
taped interview that the witness did with Mr. Dickson.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to overrule the objection. Go ahead.
Did he tell you about that? That they were going up on the roof of the Waffle House? They had wine up there?
I don't recall him getting into the specifics of the relationship, sir. I mean, it's possible I don't remember.
You did take the conversation, though, correct?
That's correct.
I have no idea. I really have no idea. I was, at this point, I can't wait for what happens on cross-examination tomorrow, because this is where it practically, this is where it practically ended. And in all fairness, like everything in regards to today, and I'm gonna give my final thoughts and close off on this. Everything in regards to today has been really, really weird. The prosecution do not have a strong case. There is these guys. And I can see why the defense bring up this whole Waffle House, going on the rooftop, all of these things. If that was happening, you now have the idea that she was flagrant with her cheating. She was flagrant with her cheating, and who knows if she had other suitors that may have liked her and wanted a chance. That's the direction I think that the defense are heading into. Maybe we might hear more testimony. I did not expect the testimony in regards to the molestation today. I did not expect that testimony. I'm definitely going to start giving trigger warnings now. Definitely going to start giving trigger warnings because I did not expect that testimony today. I did not expect testimony in regards to Eric. But all of this just completely helps elevate the defense theory. They have not strayed from that theory. They have stuck to it. They have brought in way more criminality in regards to this family. We don't know how people are going to react seeing Melissa out on the rooftop with a guy that is not a husband. You might even theorize that it wasn't even Christopher that done this. It could have been her parents. I mean, his parents. It could have been that. There are so many ways to argue third party corporate, but I think if we're going to end the trial here, the defense have knocked that right out of the park. The prosecution, they already have a mountain to climb. We have already discussed where they have failed so much in putting on this case so far. A lot of their witnesses are criminals. I don't know. I have no idea how they even cleared them. Like, I'm really surprised. I'm really surprised a DA would allow this case to continue. I'm really surprised. I know that the DA in Fulton County is Fannie Willis. The only thing I know about Fannie Willis, whatever her name is, the only thing I know about her is in regards to the case that she had regarding the Trump or whatever, the affair that she had with that other guy or whatever. I don't know much about her outside of that. But if this is how her county is ran, it's honest. People in covering this case, people were telling me you're in for a treat. Basically, like, you will see so much errors. We've already seen the errors play out on day one I believe day two even, and on day two as well. Sorry, I believe most of it came in day one. Not only with the missing evidence, but receiving materials from the DA. The defense receiving materials from the DA before someone's cross-examination that they were to. It's honestly weird. We have not seen errors yet, but don't count it out. There might be errors coming, more and more procedural errors coming in this case. But I just want to leave it there. Today has been, this case keeps getting wilder and wilder. I could not believe the testimony that I heard in regards to Norma Patton. I could not believe her involvement in the murders. I could not even believe that she had so many criminals living with her, but being friends with, even the victim family being friends with her husband. But that is this case for you. We shall be back tomorrow, same time at 6 p.m. Eastern time, to give you updates in regards to this case, to bring you the key moments from the trial so that you can catch up quicker and get a greater understanding of what may have happened in court. If you have missed any part of the live trial, make sure that you tune in. Or if you cannot watch the full 7 hours of the trial, or just want to hear my insane ramblings, or just come and join with the lovely chat, make sure you tune in tomorrow for this stream. Without further, I appreciate every single one of you for tuning in. Lexi Lornerd, Happily Angry Lawyer, I appreciate you. Zach, Trial Channel, literally all of you guys, I appreciate you for tuning in. And the lurkers as well, if you're here, next time say hi. I see you. Let me know how you're feeling. Also, don't forget to hit that like button as well as that subscribe button to be alerted when we do go live. If you're watching this back on replay crew, I see you. Let me know how you're feeling in the comments section. Without further, I'm gonna leave it there and say good night, good day, good day, whenever, and I'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. Bye for now. See ya. Thank you everyone for tuning in for another Catch Up Call live stream. Make sure that you smash that like button as well as hitting that subscribe button to be notified of our future live streams. We go live regularly, bringing you case updates and recaps of ongoing trials. So make sure you hurry back on the next live stream. We also have more content on the channel that you can binge on. Check out the playlist that we have showcasing all of these contents. Without further, I go by the name of Heinz, your friendly neighborhood catch-up man, and I'll see you back in court.